Bonelab patch 6 is here, and it's getting a lot more backlash than it deserves, so in this video I'll be going over everything and also explaining why this update is actually pretty good. Starting off with the bad, because there's just so little, which is both a good and a bad thing. The only real negative thing in this update is that they turned Ford into Pinocchio by making his blood particles wood somehow.
I see the blood when you hit him is fucked. Yeah, it's like wood chips that come out of him. What?
Genuinely have no idea how they managed to make such a specific fuck up, but whatever, it really doesn't matter at all. It's much better than having a broken body log, which by the way, there was a bug in patch 5 with the body log and cleared mods, which has been fixed as of patch 6. Now on to the positives. They added this really cool dynamic despawn effect on stuff that looks really cool, especially when used on a moving enemy, or anything moving for that matter, as you can see here.
That's cool as fuck.
There's been an update to the test chambers, mainly test chamber 07, adding this whole little section with cool little puzzles showcasing the new SDK tools, which we will dive into in a bit. But overall, the additions to chamber 07 is pretty cool and a semi-good time. Nothing groundbreaking or earth-shattering cool, but still a cool thing to look at if you're looking for some new in-game content. There was this horrible giant flashbang effect when looking at skyboxes and spectator cam, which has since been fixed as of patch 6. They also fixed suppressed guns aggroing enemies, which I always assumed was just kinda how it was, but no, apparently suppressors were always supposed to actually function as suppressors. Most of the mods from patch 5 seem to be working, which is awesome. If I had to give a percentage though, I'd probably say somewhere around 75 to 80% of the mods still work. In my patch 5 review, one of the main things I was bummed about was that things like grips and guns would break again, but SLZ seems to have avoided that issue and hopefully will continue to avoid it up until these things are added to the SDK officially, so incredible job on that, SLZ. So if you're bummed to hear about Bonelab updating, breaking your favorite mods, chances are the mod you like is still working. As for Fusion though, it's currently broken, but Fusion is a code mod, so expecting SLZ to keep it working when the game updates is absolutely unfair to them. Final thing before we dive deep into the main course of this update, they optimized the game generally, so you may experience increased performance. I personally played the patch while streaming, so my performance was horrible as usual, but I did notice it to be slightly better than it usually is, although I was using a different headset with a different resolution than the one I usually use, so that could have been the culprit. Okay, so far so good then, right? What's with the backlash then? Well, from a player's perspective, everything I just said is the entire update. There's no new base game content, no new items, etc. The game is basically the same as it was in patch 5, and that's why people aren't the most excited about this update. I think that sucks since this update is actually really cool when we took a look at the new SDK features for modders. This update is kinda like the Redstone update in the sense that there's a bunch of circuits and gizmos that can be used to make some pretty cool stuff. If you want to see all the new tools, there's a great video by SLZ themselves I've linked in the description that doubles as a tutorial and a showcase. One of the coolest scenarios I thought up of while watching this video would be needing 2 players in Fusion to hold up a lever to continue through somewhere, similar to how Ashley is needed in a game like Resident Evil 4. There's a whole lot of really cool stuff you can pull off with the new tools. For those who don't want to watch an entire 12-minute explanation of these tools and how to use them, I'll be going over them now so you can get a really good idea as to how much stuff modders were given in this update. There are toggle buttons, which essentially let you click a button and do something like open a door and then click again to close the door. There are new types of levers that go back up automatically, sort of like it's attached to a spring. There are sliders which can be used to get sort of an analog input instead of a straight on or off, so you can slowly activate something or even apply force to stuff, which is a really cool use case shown off by SLZ. You can swap materials on stuff depending on things that are activated, so modders can give a visual cue that interacting with something did do something. There's these buttons referred to as flip-flops that can be used as having one button be the on button and the other being the off button. There's a very complex multiply function that uses a power system to require more than just a simple switch or click. Maybe you have to go around the map and flip all the generator switches, or clicking a secret button will initiate a secret ending or something. And they can even be used with analog to require certain amounts of a lever to be flipped or something like that in order to activate something. And by far the coolest example given by SLZ themselves is using something called a revamp curve to activate something when a switch is at a certain point, which gives the potential for mappers to make things where you gotta find just the right spot on a switch to emulate the feeling of a janky door, for example. Imagine running from something in a horror map and you gotta try to close a door, but you gotta feel around to get it to close properly before you run out of time. Just overall really cool stuff. Yeah, there's no gigantic changes, and I feel like for some reason there's this expectation in the community that there's supposed to be due to the 2-year wait. But as was made very clear by SLZ, that 2-year wait wasn't because they were cooking up some crazy in-game content, it was so we could get frequent updates like this that break less and less mods and add more and more tools. Please remember that getting any in-game content is not and never has been the goal of these updates, as Bonelab is very clearly a modders first kind of game, and if you want content to enjoy, you can expect to get that with the mods made by the community. Although in terms of official content, I do hope Bonelab ends its support sooner rather than later. Hopefully patch 9 will be the last update we get, and SLZ will put a nice little ribbon on Bonelab knowing it's in a good state and people are happy with it, and leave modders to go absolutely crazy knowing their mods won't break anymore. Similar to some of the crazy things we saw in patch 3, like the Duck Season port and the Gang Beast mod, all while SLZ works on their next game in the background. Hopefully all of those crazy mods will be enough to tie us over up until B-Side finally releases in a couple of years, although that's a worry for another time. Maybe we'll see some really cool official in-game content with whatever the fuck is happening down at Mine Dive, but that being added in the first place is an entirely extra thing that we were never promised in any way. Although, with the way SLZ talks about it, I can't help but be at least a little excited. But who knows, maybe SLZ will do literally nothing with it. It wouldn't be the first time. With all of that out of the way, here are my final thoughts on the update. It's good, really good. SLZ has always broken at least one thing each update, and this time it was something so minuscule that I'm amazed people were able to even notice it so fast, being that Ford's new identity is he's Pinocchio. It adds new tools that are pretty cool, barely broke any mods, and is all around really solid. The bug fixes alone are pretty good, although I wish SLZ would have released a hotfix for some of the problems back in patch 5, but there's definitely no need for a hotfix this time around. That's gonna be it for this video. If you want to see more awesome swaggy videos, you can check out my last Skibbity video where I explore the patch for the first time, or if you haven't seen my last Riztastic review of patch 5, you could go watch that as well. Stupid brain rot bullshit aside, I really like money, so please go watch those videos. And with that, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye!